Hi students. So now we will move on to polynomials, which is chapter 2 of your NCERT textbook. So in this chapter there are three things that we will be doing. We'll be learning about the polynomials and their properties. Then we will look at what are the roots of polynomials and the properties of those roots. And finally we'll move on to division of polynomials. So let's begin with the introduction of polynomials. Before moving on to polynomials, let us quickly see what are algebraic terms. So algebraic term has two parts. One is coefficient and the second part is variable. So let's see few terms and then we will divide it into coefficient and variable part. So the first term is 4x to the power 3 and the coefficient part in this term is number 4 and the variable part is x raised to the power 3. The second term is number 62. The coefficient part would be 62 and there is no variable part for this term, but it is still an algebraic term. The third term is 2x raised to the power 5 y raised to the power 2. So the coefficient would be 2 and the variable part would be x raised to the power 5 y raised to the power 2, and this whole is the variable part for this term. Let's move on to polynomials. So a polynomial can be defined as an expression with one or more algebraic terms, such that for each term there are two conditions that must be satisfied for that term to be part of a polynomial. The first condition is that the coefficient of algebraic term is not 0, and the second condition is the exponent or power of each variable is a non-negative integer. So if we have a variable that has power of negative integer or fraction or an irrational number, then that will not form a polynomial. So in the following two questions we have to state whether these expressions are polynomials or not. Let's look at the first term, which is 7x plus 10. So it has two algebraic terms. First one is 7x and the other one is 10. Now the first term 7x, we can see that coefficient is 7, which is not 0, and the x has power 1, which is a non-negative integer, and 10 is a whole number, so we can say that this whole term is a polynomial. The next expression is x raised to the power minus 4. We can see that the variable x has a power of minus 4, which is a negative integer. So this is clearly not a polynomial. So whenever we see a term in which variable has a power which is a negative integer, a fraction, or an irrational number, then that expression will not be a polynomial. Now let's look at another important concept of polynomials, which is called zero or root. Root of a polynomial is that value of variable for which the polynomial is 0, or we can say for a polynomial px for a value k, and this gives the value of polynomial as 0, then k is a root of that polynomial. The following example will make things clear for you. Suppose there is a polynomial px which is defined as 3x minus 6. We have to find 0 or root of that polynomial. So we know that the 0 of polynomial can be found out when the polynomial itself is 0. So let's put px is equal to 0, which implies that 3x minus 6 is 0, or we can say that x is 6 by 3 or number 2. Let's use this number 2 in the polynomial, which will give us p2 would be 3 multiplied by 2 minus 6, which is 0. So we can say that the 2 is a root of polynomial px. So 2 is that value of variable x where px is 0. Let's understand what is geometric meaning of root of a polynomial. If we draw graph of a polynomial on coordinate plane and that graph intersects the x-axis, at that point the value of y would be 0 and the corresponding x coordinate of that point would be root of a polynomial. Let's see how. Suppose there is a polynomial which is defined as y is equal to x raised to the power 2 minus 3x minus 4. So I have plotted this graph on a coordinate plane where this is x-axis and the vertical one is y-axis. So this is the graph of polynomial x square minus 3x minus 4 is equal to y. So we can see that this graph intersects x-axis on 2 points, and these points are the point this one and this one. So we can see that value of y at these 2 points is 0. The value of y is given by this vertical scale. So we can see that at this point y is 0. Also at this point y is 0. Now we have to check what is the corresponding x value, which is given by the horizontal scale. The value of x at this point is minus 1 and the value of x at this point is 4. So we can say that roots of polynomial y is equal to x square minus 3x minus 4 are the x coordinate of these 2 points, which are minus 1 and 4. In the next video we will look at few properties of quadratic polynomials.